Hey, what's going on?
I was like, wait, 55.
55.
Is that you or me? That's you.
We alternate.
Yeah.
I do odds, you do evens.
Yeah, a little inside baseball for you. You always start the odd episodes.
Yeah, so with that said, welcome to Are You Cirrus with Jamie and Andrew, episode number 55. Like, comment, share, subscribe, rate, download,
Yeah.
whatever.
We just got some numbers back in on
Yeah.
Are You Serious?
Yeah.
And ever since I did the numbers, I went back in and even more. So over 20,000 views now on YouTube. So thank you to everyone who has watched an episode. And 5,000, more than 5,000 now. So 5,007 downloads.
Nice.
That does not fully count listens, I don't think. It's
Yeah.
listen and download, so I
Right.
don't know how that works. But yeah, 25.
Nice.
25,000
That's great. We've
total.
been kind of inconsistent.
Yeah, I know. We probably could have better numbers if
Yeah.
we were a little bit better about
Yeah,
it.
and I think we were originally going to do like a season finale, and then we're like, no, we'll just kind of keep going, but it's also hurricane season, and it's also summer, and we're also tired.
Yeah. Well, and it's also resting up and saving your energy for
Yeah.
hurricane
Yeah,
season.
we took last week off just because we wanted to
Phew.
chill out a little bit.
Yeah, I think we needed to chill out a
Yeah.
little bit too. How was, chilling out for you? You good? Everything good?
Good. Still in the middle of ceiling collapse repairs at the house.
Okay. I was about to ask.
Yeah, that's stretching into its third week now, so that's exciting. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel now,
Yeah.
so we're getting there.
You got a couple of days off, which was nice.
A couple days off, spent them doing more repairs in the house, some painting, some wallpapering, spending a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, that's how it works.
Cheap. It ain't cheap.
Home ownership, if
Yep.
you will.
Lovely.
Yeah, for me, same thing. Tropical depression phase earlier.
After, yeah.
We always like to say that's what we call after a storm. Tropical depression for us.
Yeah, which was last week. Not
Yeah,
it
100%.
was a quiet week.
Yeah.
Debbie was done. We were watching the water levels, but it was just kind of like a
Yeah.
kind of week.
And you feel that more and more. I feel it more, even if it is a tropical storm or a hurricane, whatever. I feel it more and more the more I do this.
Oh yeah,
The longer we go, taking longer naps, sleeping a lot more, being like, am I okay?
yeah. No, I know. And Debbie was just a big deal, yes,
Yeah.
for flooding, but sort of in the grand scheme of things, I think it was just kind of a week's worth though of stuff. It was just every day. It wasn't in and out, over and done. You know,
for sure. Whatever, 5 named storms now.
Yeah.
Ernesto.
Yep.
Thank the Lord it turned.
Yep.
And now we wait.
Yeah.
Now we wait, obviously, for what looks to be, our typical peak of
Yeah, the
hurricane
meat
season.
of the season. We got a little quiet stretch for now. But probably in a week, 10 days.
Yeah.
Looks like we'll kind of go into it.
And probably not stop until
Yeah.
we stop for good.
Yeah.
So just fair warning there.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Debbie, because there's a lot that was kind of, I want to make sure we do this the right way. A lot, first off, that I think there were some misconceptions in the public about the forecasting of Debbie, which I would love to talk about. Leading up to Debbie, how the forecast changed, and still some of the misconceptions of Debbie after
Debbie. Yeah.
So let's talk about like the week leading up to Debbie. We knew that this was going to be a system that had the potential to stall out. Always a tricky forecast.
Yeah.
And that right there is where wrinkles got thrown
Yeah.
into, I think, a lot of the misconceptions to begin with.
Yeah. You get a stalling system, and that becomes, it's difficult enough to forecast a tropical storm or hurricane that's moving along.
Absolutely.
But when it stalls, and basically what happened with Debbie and what was sort of the forecast to happen was, you think of tropical storms and hurricanes as sort of these big, powerful systems, but they're also extremely fragile and extremely vulnerable to the surrounding weather patterns. We've said, and I think we've said it on here before, you don't forecast where the hurricane's going to go. You forecast what's happening around the hurricane. You get that right, that's how you know where the storm's going to go. Well, in the case of Debbie, everything just kind of looked like it was going to collapse.
Yeah.
Steering currents were going to collapse, and that leads to a storm that can drift and meander and kind of get pushed along by really subtle features in the atmosphere. And that was the forecast for Debbie, and that's how we ended up with those 16 to 20 inch forecast rain totals.
Yeah. And I think, too, leading up to Debby, this is always the tough part in our job is when the forecast calls for the potential of 16 to 20 inch rainfall totals. How do you effectively communicate that to the public to where they know not everyone is going to get 16 to 20 inch totals?
Yeah.
And that was the trick, I think, for us all week of trying to use those flash flood maps. They worked out really well. But even then, and I think there's a psychology to this, to where we had a map that we showed throughout the week, 16 to 20, 8 to 12, 12 to 16. But people just looked at the top number, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the problem lied, at least of people saying that this was a busted forecast or it didn't come out to fruition when now that we have the numbers.
It did.
It did.
Yeah, it did.
Really
The forecast verified. I think another thing that kind of had people, those first couple of days, the week of Debby, were like, oh, they hyped it up, they blew it up, hype again, here they go again, here they go again.
I know where you're going. Yep.
It wasn't a sort of 1 day, 2 day in and out thing. It was, we got the 16 to 20 inches in spots, but it was spread out over 4, 5, 6 days, which is kind of unusual for us. People expect, a storm most of the time around here kind of comes in, comes out. You'll maybe have 2 days. You can still get big rain in 2 days, but then it's over and done. So maybe we could have communicated that part a little better, that it's not going to be at once.
Yeah.
It is going to be spread out. But even as we were in Debby, sort of already in the rain, there were still forecast adjustments that were going on. It was, we had Debby ingested a lot of dry air right before it moved back out over the Atlantic. And that dry air, thankfully, kind of cut back, at least initially, on some of the rain totals.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But as it took it a long time, but as it was out over the Atlantic, especially once we got into that Wednesday and Thursday, it started to tap into that moisture. It worked out its dry air, and the rain started to dump.
Yeah, I think the best part that we did is we knew quickly, probably by Wednesday afternoon, where the big rain would be. I remember looking at South Carolina 9 and saying, it's been raining there for the past 3 hours at a decent rate.
Oh, yeah.
And then by Thursday, we started to see some of that dry air get mixed in on the South Strand, which was great for people down in Murrells Inlet and Georgetown. They still picked up on some decent rain.
Oh, yeah.
But compared to the 16 to 20 inch totals, they were kind of spared from it. So that's one of the things that I think, we forecast the possibilities, and then we have to tweak even during, especially, and I think that was probably what was different for the public too, is instead of this being a 1 or 2 day system, this being 5 days, there's going to be more tweaks.
Yeah.
Just because it's such a dynamic and fluid system that at one point was moving 3 miles per hour.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do at that point. There
Yeah.
really is. Let's talk about, obviously, some of the numbers. We got some of that printed out.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about some of the river flooding. Still a pretty decent tropical storm that brought in some decent wind here.
Yeah, not too bad. Peak wind gusts, Winyah Bay, 46.
Yep.
Gust to 46. Myrtle's Inlet, 41. North Myrtle Beach, 42. Myrtle Beach, 35.
Yeah.
It was gusty. Interestingly enough, a lot of the wind came on Friday when the sun was out.
Yeah, the backside of the system.
Atmosphere kind of got mixed up a little bit. Sun came out. Whenever you get the sun out and you have a lot of wind energy, it tends to mix that wind energy down, which is what we had that Friday afternoon. That's when we saw most of the highest gusts.
Yeah.
It was on Friday when the sun was shining, not when it was raining.
And of
which
course,
was interesting.
of course, at that point too, we're already saturated.
Yeah.
So if we did have a little bit stronger gusts, I think we could have seen even more damage than what we did. The rainfall totals, obviously, we talked about, South Carolina at 9, they got hit really hard. Loris was one of the big winners in that, 17 inches, I think.
17, 17 inches in Loris.
Monk's Corner.
Monk's Corner was the winner.
22, I do believe.
Yep. And we said... Monk's Corner was 22.02. we said that
16 to 20.
Debby was going to make a run at the Florence record for the wettest tropical system
And I really thought we
in
had a
South
shot.
Carolina history. So Debby in Monk's Corner, 22.02, the state record. Loris from Florence, 23.68. So we got within less than 2 inches
Yeah.
of the state record from a tropical storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just goes to show, too, that it only takes one system to cause some issues. You get 17 inches of rain, and you're going to look at some issues there, too.
Yeah.
Little River picked up on about 15 inches of rain.
Yeah.
Kingstree picking up 14 inches. I mean, we had a lot of rain. And
Yeah.
eventually, we talked about it, too. That rain falls in the watersheds. That's where we led to some issues.
Yeah, and we did talk about that leading up to Debby, is where does this axis of heavy rain fall? You know, had it fallen near the beach, had these 15, 16, 18-inch totals fallen right here on the beach,
Yep.
it'd be okay. There would have been a lot of flash flooding, but not as much river flooding. And sure enough, it ended up that the heaviest rain did fall in our watersheds.
Yep.
So along the border, up into parts of the PD, and even north of the border, all of that water comes down. You know, a lot of people don't realize, I think, that the watershed for most of the PD region, it goes all the way up into the Piedmont and foothills of North Carolina. You know, the PD River starts way up in North Carolina, and they got big rain.
Yeah.
And yes, it made its way down. Now, this is where it's going to get complicated.
We have some photos and videos of the flooding, too, that we'll pull up while we're talking about this, because this is where a lot of people do. I'll let you tackle it since you've been here for at least 3 big flooding events.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that in comparison to Hurricane Florence and Hurricane Matthew.
Nothing.
Correct.
Nothing.
I want to make sure we say that.
Absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, there's water in the swamps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what swamps do.
In low-lying areas.
And low-lying areas. Yeah. Had we not been through Matthew and Florence, and we can't forget 2015.
Yeah.
We had the
flood.
big flood of 2015, which at the time was called the 1,000-year flood.
There's Rosewood in Sockasty.
Yeah, so this is Rosewood in Sockasty. Now, I could pull up the picture, this post on Facebook that I made, and there's a lot of comments on there.
Yeah.
Oh, development. That's what happens when you do development. That's
Yeah.
what happens. And most of these houses are elevated, so they know that they're in a flood area, and they're prepared for it. And I guarantee you, if you were to talk to some of these people in these flooded areas, well, they obviously know that they're in a flood zone. Their houses are elevated. The people who got flooded from Debby in most of our area are kind of pros at flooding.
Oh, God, yeah.
They're pros at
they're
it.
built
They've
different.
been through it. They're river people. They know how,
It's like...
it's life. It's kind of what you do. But a lot of finger pointing about flooding. Well, had the dams upstream in North Carolina not released their water, we wouldn't flood. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
It's not that simple. Those parts of North Carolina were also experiencing and expecting big rain from Debby. And it's a process where we all kind of have to mitigate and get ready. So did they lower some of their lake levels? Absolutely.
They had to.
Did they lower their lake levels enough to lead to this? No.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you get 20 inches of rain.
Yeah.
It's what happens. We live in an area that gets big rain.
We live in an area that's built on marshland.
And we live in a swamp.
Legit.
We live in a swamp, which I know what a lot of people are saying out there about development, and we can get to that in a minute. But if you go back and look at the wettest tropical systems in South Carolina history, 13 to 20 inches of rain isn't uncommon. 5 of the top 10 have been just specifically in our area. Florence, Matthew was 15 to 18 inches here in our area. Hurricane Floyd in 1999, Myrtle Beach was the winner there, 17 inches of rain. You go back to Dorian in 2019, Pawleys Island, 15.5 inches of rain. Georgetown with Hermine, which was a tropical storm in 2016, 14 inches of rain. It happens here.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen, and it's going to keep happening. It's a pain.
Yeah.
But this is what happens here. It rains a lot in
Yeah.
tropical storms, and then it floods.
I almost feel like, and this is just an opinion, this is not fact, the area hasn't seen anything like this, even close to it, since Florence.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we've been...
And you think 2018 to 2024, we've had a lot of growth since Hurricane Florence.
Yeah.
So when we're showing this and people are seeing this for the first time, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
this is all. I just think it's almost like everything's wrong. We got to
Yeah.
move, and you're seeing a lot of people move out to Conway, so they're seeing this for the first time. And when you see it for the first time and you haven't been here through the other storms,
Yeah.
it is a little bit of cause for concern. But this is normal.
Yeah.
It's kind of what we want to say here when it comes
Yeah.
to the tropics.
Now, you talk about flooding like this. I think this is
It
what...
is flash flooding in the
This
north.
is flash flooding.
Yes.
And we have to identify the difference.
Correct.
This was the morning after Loris picked up 16 inches of rain.
Yeah, which is what you would expect.
There's going to be water everywhere. This is a parking lot full of water. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Obviously, that's river flooding.
Yep.
All of the water runs into the rivers, but there's a big difference. A lot of people in the comments the past week have been talking about the development. Is there room for a big discussion about development and how it's done around here with the amount of development and how development is done? Absolutely. Clear-cutting trees, paving roads,
Yep.
putting up 1,000 houses, you're going to alter some things. But that's going to be more of a flash
I
flood
was sort of saying, yep.
type of an issue. It doesn't really impact river flooding as much. And again, these are pictures of river flooding, and yeah, there's a lot of water there, but these are the swamps. And the swamps are there to hold water and to catch water.
The rivers have been here before the development.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we want to talk about development and what it's doing, it would be your added blacktop, taking away trees that would basically take up some of that water in neighborhoods. It wouldn't be building around this. This is going to happen regardless.
Yeah.
When you live near a river, whether that be the PD, the Lynch's River,
Yeah, any of
the
them.
Waccamaw River.
Yeah.
This is going to happen, especially when it falls into a watershed area. If we want to talk flash flooding, then I think you could have an argument.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
100%.
do I think there should be some changes maybe about the development style and practices around here? Absolutely. But again, then you get into a cost-effective thing.
Correct.
Where, so what do? Say, okay, well, we're never going to build anything because it's going to flood. Or to what level of flooding do we build for? A lot of sort of flood mitigation when it comes to building roads and building neighborhoods. You work within the 100-year sort of flood plan, which doesn't mean that flood happens once every 100 years. We can really get off on a tangent here. It means there's a 1% chance.
Yeah.
So a 100-year flood means there's a 1% chance every year of seeing that much rain.
Yeah.
500-year flood means there's a 0.5% chance each given year. You can't plan and develop for massive flooding events because you wouldn't be able to build anything. Again, and that's because we live in an area that floods. So it's complicated. It's not as simple as development. It's not as simple as the dams upstream in North Carolina releasing water. It's not as simple. A lot of people say, oh, we need to dredge the river. The Waccamaw River is like a shallow, you can't.
Nope.
You can't. It's a shallow, slow-moving, swampy river.
And if you dredged it, it would fill right back in.
Right. It's just the nature of where we live that we are going to have to deal with flooding at times.
We're swamp people.
We're swamp people.
We're swamp people, by God. I will say, too, when it comes to, the rivers and everything else that people talk about. When it comes to the development here, developers know how much rain we get on average. It's all consulted with them. Why do you think we have retention ponds? Imagine if we didn't.
Yeah.
Then we would see some big issues.
Yeah.
But, yeah, development's going to impact flash flooding, but certainly not river flooding.
Yeah. And, I guess there's more to be said for
and maybe it's
retention ponds, but we don't have anywhere else to build. That doesn't mean we need to stop building.
Yeah.
We can't.
Maybe it's also a thing of where our transplants are coming from.
Yeah.
They're not used to a tropical.
Yeah. A big rain in New England is 4 inches.
Correct. A big rain down here. I mean, think of 4th of July a couple years ago.
Yeah. Well, 10 inches. Yeah.
We had flash flooding in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah. Yeah, we joke often. We hardly even bat an eye looking at models unless we get double digits.
Yep. In a tropical system.
Yeah, if it's not over 10 inches, we can handle that. 6 to 8 inches, all right. We're good. We're good. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
Part of it.
So, and we're also not somewhere where, like up north, like even in inland parts of North Carolina, the Carolinas, where you get a big rain and you have elevations and all the water. You'll get flash flooding, runs into the creeks, runs into the rivers, and by the next day, it's all gone.
Yeah.
It's quick. We don't get that. We're what, 2 weeks after Debby now, and we're just now cresting. Our water moves slow. It
Very
stays
slow.
high for a long time. That's just, again, the nature of what we're dealing with.
The good news is everything is crested
Yep.
at the time of this is airing, so time to let it flow and hopefully get back down to a normal level before potentially another system in September.
That's concerning.
That's what I'm more worried about.
Yeah.
Because you get another 15 to 20 inches.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to take some time.
Yeah, it's going to take a while especially the Waccamaw. It takes a long time to get the Waccamaw down.
You get 15 to 20 inches of rain in the next 2-3 weeks, then we could have some issues.
Yeah.
And I think that's the more thing I would be concerned about right now.
Yeah.
Looking ahead.
Agreed.
Anything else you want to add about Debby?
I don't think so.
I don't want to get canceled, so.
I know, yeah. I think I'd planned to be a little more hard on that, but
No, I liked it. I thought it was a nice tone.
yeah.
Welcome to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah. Where it floods.
We also live in a beautiful area. If this is what we have to deal with,
Yeah, we're good.
we're good. I also know too, depending on how many photos and videos we get of the flooding, how serious it is.
Yeah.
Not saying that this isn't. Don't
Right.
go running with that. But if it's really bad, the locals down there we would be flooded
Right.
with photo.
Yeah.
I've never seen it this bad.
Yeah.
All right, shooting the breeze. What are your
Okay.
thoughts on the new CPC Hurricane or Tropical Outlook from Tim? Have
I
you
love
seen
it.
that?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Were they, it was what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out?
Yeah, I think a 2 and
Yeah.
a 3 week.
I think we both posted this on
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love them.
I do too.
love 'em.
There is a way you can import it into our system to where we could show it on air.
Mm-hmm.
Been playing around with it. The color tables are so atrocious,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you can edit it. So I'm working on that. But basically, for those that don't know, the Climate Prediction Center
Mm-hmm.
does the 8 to 14 day, 6 to 10 day temperature and precip. They do a lot of products.
Mm-hmm.
They've recently started a new tropical outlook.
Yeah.
That just says, hey, we need to watch this area 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Or we need to watch this area 3 weeks from now. So if you want to see that, just type in CPC Tropical Outlook and it'll pop up.
Yeah.
But I love it.
Yeah, and how often is that one updated?
It's updated every week.
Once a week, yeah.
So once a week for days 7 through 14 and 14 through 21.
Yeah, and it kind of highlights the areas, kind of
Yeah.
breaks it down into percentages, which is cool.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
like 20%, 40%, 60%.
Yeah.
And greater than, it kind of circles the area. The main development region's the one that's going to be highlighted. But
It's
still,
going to be highlighted. Yeah, we're
it's
heading into
really
September.
cool.
It's going to be a hot spot.
It's
yeah.
really cool. So, Tim, great question. Glad you asked
love
that.
it. Yep. All right.
Something different.
Yeah.
I've been holding on to that one for a
I
couple
like that
weeks.
one. How difficult is it to forecast a tropical system? Lisa.
We kind of talked about the broad scale things. I guess we could talk locally.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's exhausting,
Even
especially.
just the track.
Yeah.
Like 7 days out.
Yeah. Now, if it's a storm like Ernesto,
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
I'm not forecasting anything about it. I'm looking at the National Hurricane Center track.
Straightforward.
and 800 miles offshore, I'm not going to waste my time.
Yeah, 100%.
But now if it's something that looks potentially to be an issue for us, then yeah, it's all consuming, and it is very difficult. And like I said, there's so much that goes into forecasting tropical systems.
Yeah.
Initially, the focus is on, okay, where's it going to go? What areas are we kind of honing in for landfall potential? And then you start focusing in on the details: how much rain, how much wind, what's the tornado potential, and everything is dependent on something else, dependent on something else, dependent on something else. Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah, I like your idea, though, if you work, and you said it earlier in the episode, if you work outward first and then inward, it helps. Knowing, hey, if we're thinking a landfall in Georgetown, more than likely east and northeast of Georgetown will have the greatest wind, the greatest tornado threat, the heaviest rain potentially to the north. Like, then we can really focus in on maybe what we like to do is 3 scenarios. And then start to really fine-tune one of those scenarios as we get closer.
Yeah, and that's when you start getting numbers.
Yeah.
We call it putting numbers to the forecast. So, 5 days out, we have a high risk of heavy rain. Once you start getting 3 days out-ish, we can start putting out numbers, 10 to 12, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a process, and it's a long process, and it's an exhausting process. But it's also so fun.
It is. We get updates every 3 hours from the National Hurricane Center, not to mention the updates from every model.
Which are every 3 to 6 hours.
3 to 6. We don't get a break.
We don't.
It gets to the point to where you feel like you're dreaming of tropical updates.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
And
it's like, oh, update came out. Wait, what?
Yeah. I usually sleep pretty well at night, but when we're sort of in active tropical mode, I have to take something to keep me asleep, because if I don't, my eyes will open. Say I got to get up and go to the bathroom. My eyes will open, and my first thought is, okay, well, what do the new models look like?
Yeah.
And I will lay there in bed and try really hard not to pick up my phone.
Yeah.
But the second I do,
it's over.
I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm in it, because I'll spend an hour looking at models, and then my next thought is, well, if I stay up another hour, then I'll be able to catch the Euro.
And then it's an endless cycle because the data's coming in.
It's constantly coming in. So I try, if I can just sleep through the night during those, when we're in that sort of period, I'm okay.
I've had to teach myself during hurricane stuff, like forecasting, just give yourself like a 2-hour break to just put the phone down. And I've really started to do that now with Brooks and Emily. Like, I'll go get Brooks at like 5, and I won't touch anything until like 7.
Yeah.
And I say 7 because I know the 8 o'clock update comes out. So, but 2 hours to just not think about anything weather, because I know it's going to be there, and I know I'm going to absorb it for the next 10 to 14 to whatever many days, like Debby.
Yeah.
To where it does consume you. It really does. But yes, very difficult to forecast. I would like to say we go broad and then specifics. We don't really even sometimes feel confident about specifics until 72 hours, 48 hours. And even then you're, we put out some forecasts before. I'm like, hopefully this hits.
Yeah.
Oh, Terry, we don't have enough time. This could be a whole episode. What's one change you've noticed in the television business in the last 10 years? Oh, goodness.
That's an episode.
It is an episode. I kind of like it. I can give you one. I love this as an episode. I really do. Forecasting, social media, all of it. Try not to give everything away. Do you have one off the top of your head?
Social media.
Okay.
Social media.
I think that's kind of where I was going to go. You're going to say social media. I'm going to say the challenge of accurate information.
Yeah.
Social media. I think
battling
that's
social media.
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
So social media, because you have to be around 24/7 to be relevant. People get their stuff from social media more than they do the 6 o'clock news nowadays.
Yeah.
Hate to say that.
They're getting it from Facebook. They're getting it from Twitter or Instagram or God forbid, TikTok.
Yeah. Once again, social media.
Yeah.
But yeah, like then if they see something from you on social media, if they're not a regular viewer, they might tune in at 6 and get that more detailed forecast.
Yeah.
To the same aspect of that, we're in an uphill battle to where there's a lot of misinformation, especially with people who aren't even degreed or even, I don't even care about the degree, but if you're in a meteorology school for it, that's fine. But people who just don't know what they're talking about, then it's just clickbait.
And they're looking for clicks, and they'll post the most extreme outcome that a model will show and scream and yell about it and make a big post about it, and it gets shared 8 million times. And then, we post something related. Oh, look, there's a slight chance of development. And then suddenly you're answering questions about, well, it's supposed to hit here as a category 4. And, it's like, oh, no.
It's unfortunate because I feel like we then get the bad rep from that viewer thinking that you said it even though you never said it.
Yeah.
And that's where my misinformation comes from.
Yeah.
So, that's a whole episode. I'm going to save this one because I love it.
Yeah. And social media has taken what would otherwise be, and I'm not complaining about this because I love it.
I do love it.
But you take a day, let's go back to Sunday. This past Sunday, we had big storms. Horry County blew down some trees, nasty storms. 15 years ago.
Yeah. We've talked about this before with warnings
and stuff.
Yeah.
I used to go on dinner breaks when there would be like a severe thunderstorm watch. Like if there wasn't a risk of tornadoes or whatever, we had a couple of severe storms, maybe blowing down some trees. Yeah, then Crawl will handle it. You didn't have to post on Facebook. You didn't have to post on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'd go to dinner, go home, prop my feet up. No big deal. Like if we're not on top of it now.
Yeah.
It's
like when
they're either going somewhere else or they're complaining that we're not on it, and so even a normal kind of a thunderstorm day turns into kind of a really busy day.
It's like when I filled in recently for the weekend and I texted you.
Yeah.
There's just thunderstorms. I'm just sitting at the house on dinner, and next thing you know, they're like land spout reported.
Yeah.
Rotation in this storm, watching closely, and I'm like, oh, well, here we go.
Yeah. Back you go.
It's never ending.
Yeah.
Because there's always like the perception you need to be first. So if, God forbid, something were to happen or someone were to post something like that and I'm just chilling on my couch.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it works nowadays.
The other big thing, though, thank God for these.
Oh, thank God. We can remote into our system.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario.
They're this past Sunday, I mean, with those storms and the weekend leading up to Debby, I literally did all of my work from home, forecasting, updating stories, updating social media. Thankfully we can do it from home instead of having to, come in. But yeah.
That's nice because it doesn't feel like you're living here when you don't have to.
Yes. If I can sit on my couch 100%. In my robe with my cup of coffee and my dog's on my lap and a candle going, I kind of feel like I'm doing okay.
Yeah, me too. I'm okay, at least I have to work a lot, but at least I'm getting this moment here.
Yeah.
To where I'm not in work 2 hours earlier than what I really need to be.
Yes.
So I agree. All right, well, we got one more in there?
One more? Is this me or you?
You.
You sure?
Yeah, I think so. What'd you hit? I did social media.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
did you grab one and then not read it?
No. We're going to come back to Mark later.
Oh, that's Mark?
Yeah. What is in your go bag during severe weather coverage? I don't really have a
question.
Yeah, that is fun. I don't really have a go bag for severe weather because it's like, we may stay a couple of extra hours, but I do pack a big go bag for tropical storms, hurricanes.
So what's in your hurricane go bag?
Lots of snacks.
Tennis shoes.
Yeah. My tennis shoes because my feet hurt.
That's honestly starting to rub over to me. I wore tennis shoes for Debby, and it was a life-changing experience.
Yeah. I never broke out the tennis shoes for Debby. I wasn't there.
I just wore them just because I knew I was going to be here and walk around.
But yeah, I've covered enough storms to know that dress shoes on your feet for 18, 20 hours, however long you're going to be on, is not good, and I don't care. I may have to add a back brace. Not that you'll be able to see, but like a compression thing. Because my back hurts from standing a lot.
Yeah, which makes sense. 18 to 20 hours of standing on a screen.
Yeah, it hurts your back. So maybe a back brace if we get a big one. A lot of snacks.
Ton of snacks.
A lot of snacks. If we're having a big one, like if we're in full-on hurricane coverage, I don't eat a lot of meals.
Yeah.
Because we don't really have time.
God, no.
There's always food in the studio. Thank God they do take care of us here. There's always pizza in the break room or pizza in the conference room. It's usually cold by the time we get to it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I will be able to make it, and I'll like cram down half a piece of pizza.
Or a Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Or a Chick-fil-A, yeah, just literally 3 bites just to get something. But even that gets kind of complicated. So I kind of live on protein bars, crackers. I try to stay away from coffee.
Yeah.
Unless I have to.
Yeah.
I try really hard to stay hydrated. Big bottle of Tylenol.
Yeah, I haven't brought ibuprofen or Tylenol.
I've learned also just a towel and a wash rag. If I am here for like an overnight, we don't have showers in this building.
Yeah.
But if I can wash my face,
You feel different.
I feel different.
Yeah.
Or wash my hair. So there have been a couple times where I'm, in the little crappy sink
Yeah.
in our bathroom, just washing my face.
I bring my toothbrush and toothpaste
Yeah.
because if I do stay overnight, at least I know that my mouth is
Right.
clean.
Yeah.
Just to feel like fresh. I usually don't drink coffee during the height of the event because I'm too jittery.
Yeah, same.
To where I'll even like mistype something, trying to get something out.
Yeah.
But I'll pick it right back up as soon as we go into the overnight. As far as like if I know I have to stay over.
Right.
We've had bad luck to where like storm coverage will end at like 2 a.m. and then it's like, all right, figure it out in the morning.
Yeah.
That's when the coffee, and then typically a Red Bull for the morning.
Yeah,
And
see, I can't do that. My heart would literally end up on the floor.
There's some mornings where it feels like that. Crackers and Cheez-Its are my big go-to though.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Any kind of a snack is what I live on. I've learned to bring like a good raincoat.
Yeah. To poke your head in and out of
Poke
the door.
your head in and out. And sometimes I'll take a break. Like if it's really blowing and pouring good, I'll just like to go like get out of the building and sit in my car. Just to kind of listen to it and take a little break. And so raincoat for that. A pillow in case I do have a chance to lay my head down, which usually doesn't happen.
If we do, it's like right before the system. Like you'll come in later.
Yeah.
Or it's like I just finished up like 8 hours. I'm going to go nap for like 45 minutes. But neither you or I will miss the height of the event.
No.
Even if that means that we don't sleep for 18 hours.
And if there's ever a chance, I can't remember who I was talking to about this. Maybe it was Kristen, our assistant news director, whatever she is now. If there's an opportunity for me to go home to nap, I will do that.
Yeah.
I would rather take the 20 minutes it takes to get me to and from work. I would rather sacrifice that 40 minutes just to have 30 minutes at home in my bed.
Yeah, I agree with that.
As opposed to trying to lay down here somewhere.
It's chaotic here, too.
It's chaotic. It's hard to find a spot. And I know that if I'm here, I'm going to be doing something.
Yeah.
If I can just get home and lay in my bed, even if I don't sleep, but 30 minutes lay in my bed in the comfort of my home, I'll get a little recharge. So I will do that. There have been a couple of hurricanes where I've driven home kind of in the thick of it just to get a little break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, too, it's kind of an adrenaline rush to go out in it.
Yeah, then it's also fun. I want to see what's going on. That's a part of it.
Oh, do you want to save Mark's for next week?
Yeah, let's do Mark next week.
Okay, Mark next week. Mark, your question's great.
Yep, we'll get to it.
I think that's going to do it for us here today.
Yeah.
Keep it short and simple.
We might be back next week. We might not.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's okay.
I have a feeling the more we get into September, the less you'll see of us.
Yeah.
At least here.
Yeah.
And then I would love to maybe we like wrap it up with like season's over somewhere.
Mm-hmm. That would be fun.
A little hurricane happy hour.
You know I love a happy hour.
We all do.
We love a happy hour.
Yeah, I don't know. And then that way, because when the holidays come through, we're not going to want to be doing this.
Yeah.
Nor will people be watching as much. So, episode 55, I think that does it.
Yeah. We'll see you back at some point for 56. And again, sorry for being kind of in and
Sporadic.
out, but it's kind of how the cookie crumbles this time of the year.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot more content coming your way, too, is once we get past hurricane season. So,
yeah.
All right, friends. We'll see you all.
See ya.